Yesterday, 19 minutes after the full-time whistle, Jim Goodwin was relieved of his duties as Aberdeen manager. These are the match stats from the game, which are damning in themselves. Not a single shot on target, and we only forced David Marshall to make one save in what was deemed as a must-win game for Aberdeen. The league table is even worse. We have now dropped down into the bottom 7. We play St Mirren on Wednesday, where now it is time to find some sort of calmness. We need some calm heads. We need to find an interim manager, and we need to go again. Not long after Jim Goodwin was sacked, Chairman Dave Cormack came out and he gave this statement to the gathering press.
I'd like to make a statement because personally I feel I owe it to our fans. That's why I'm here. The results basically since we came back from the World Cup have been wholly unacceptable. And I saw our fans there today. 1,700 of them there today. I used to be one. I was with 5,000 fans back in 1980 when we won the league, right? We won 5-0. And I feel for them. Personally, I feel like I've let down the supporters. The thing for me, and by the way, I met with Jim, and Jim's a thoroughly decent guy, as most of you guys know, and he came up, gave me a hug, and said it wasn't good enough. And I really didn't need to say much more than that. He's given it everything he could give it. The simple fact is the results since the World Cup and our away form is just abysmal, totally and utterly unacceptable. The players need to take responsibility too, right? It's always the managers that get it. But for me, I'm chairman of the club. I'm 64 now. First went to Pittodrie when I was about 6 years old. Fell in love with the club, and love our home city. For me, I'm the chairman. I take responsibility when things go like this, when you have to part company with managers and you make decisions. Yes, I've got a board that's there, and it really doesn't matter that things off the field, commercially and otherwise, are going well. Our academy is going well. But at the end of the day, first team results is what matters.
Here's some more information for you. So after yesterday's absolute annihilation, the Dons have now the worst defence in the Scottish Premiership. Aberdeen have now lost 8 straight away league games. We have only won 1 game from the last 10 in all competitions, and Jim Goodwin leaves with a record of 43 games in charge, having lost 19. Yesterday's attendance at Easter Road was 16,671, including 1,700 Aberdeen fans who watched on with utter astonishment. Hi everybody, a very warm welcome to Ali Beg AB TV this Sunday evening. How are you doing? Poor dearie me, if we didn't think it could get any worse. And here we are. So I'm going to deal with a couple of things first, give you my own thoughts on a couple of things. And then tonight is all about you. Again, I am opening it to the floor for you to have your say. So if you're watching for the very first time, hi. Thank you so much for tuning in. All you have to do is just leave your comments on YouTube. But I'd be very grateful if you would please not use bad language. And if you can, try and keep your comments as respectful as possible. It just helps me with the YouTube platform as well. So I'd be very grateful for that. So I have to be honest, never in a million years did I expect us to lose that game 6-0. And in the manner that we lost that game yesterday. Let me deal with it first of all. So I'll deal with the performance, and I'm going to be very honest and very transparent because I think that's what it now needs. It needs us all to be brutally honest, brutally transparent, and basically just put all our cards on the table, because I think that's where we are now at. So, I think the performance was gutless. I thought it was spineless. And I thought it was shameful. So if the players, and I mentioned this yesterday, if the players were true to their word about backing Jim, knowing the enormity of what possibly could happen to Jim, if they were fully behind him, yesterday's result should have been a formality. They would have upped their game. They would have gone in about what is a very unstable Hibs team. And look what happened. So that shows to me, and I'm going to use a very strong word here, but that shows to me that this whole past week, you have given us the sense that you are a bunch of charlatans. And you have got a lot of making up to do for the football club, the fans especially, and those that trusted you. And we saw the pictures of Jim leaving yesterday. I personally found it quite sad, if I'm being honest. I know he chose to do it. He could have quite easily slipped out privately. It was the right thing to do, but I have to also be honest, it should never have come to this. Jim should have been relieved of his duties either last Monday night or first thing Tuesday morning. And all I think that we have now done is we have wasted a week where an interim could have come in. We could have given the players one hell of a shake, and we could have reset for yesterday's game. But here we are now, just again, completely and utterly bewildered. There is something called professional pride. And yesterday, again, like you, I fully expected for the players to raise their games, to show us, the fans, the board, the manager, that they have professional pride. And they were going to make up for what happened on Monday night. And they didn't. They were nowhere near it. Nobody yesterday got pass marks, not one single player. The set pieces that we defended yesterday were laughable. I've never seen anything like it. Leaving players with that much room in a box to get free headers. Liam Scales getting turned by a young lad who's just come out of an academy and gives away a penalty and then gets a subsequent red card. It's bordering on laughable. So this week, give yourselves a really, really good shake. Take a long, hard look in the mirror because you've let an awful lot of people down. So I'm angry with the players. I really am. So to the subject of the new manager. So I'm going to give you some thoughts on that a little bit later. Before we get to that, just some news coming out of the club today. That we have targeted a new goalkeeper. We've been linked with Ajax goalkeeper Jim Goodwin. The talk is that he will come in on loan. And apparently the clubs are talking at the moment and they're trying to get that deal done as well as the lad from Watford as well. So, as I said, now it's time for calm heads. It's gone, it's in the past. Now we have to brush ourselves off and now we have to go again because quite simply we don't have any choice. But there is still that simmering anger there. There is still that simmering frustration. So again, it is what it is. And the disconnect, which I think was quite obvious that was there between the players and our former manager, that can't happen again, I don't think. A lot of people have said, why this capitulation since the World Cup? What has happened? Did something happen in Atlanta? I personally don't think it did, because I think the majority of the first team players weren't actually there. I think, it's just a personal opinion, you may or may not disagree, I think it started to set in after the Celtic game, because I honestly believe that Jim instilled this mentality into the players that possibly they weren't good enough. I don't know. And maybe the players just didn't buy into what he wanted to do anymore. So that's where I'm at with it. But we have to go again. We have to dust ourselves down. We really do. Because we have a big game on Wednesday and then we have a big game on Saturday. So we'll get to the thoughts of the managers very soon, who we think should come in. The board have obviously got a big decision to make quickly in terms of an interim manager. I personally think that it'll be Barry Robson. Who comes in with Barry, I don't know. But I think, to me at the moment, Barry is the obvious candidate if they're looking in-house. And I also have to be very honest with you, and this is where my head is at the moment, and and this could change. My feelings could change in the next couple of days, I don't know. But as it is right here and now, and again, forgive me if you think I'm speaking out of turn, and I don't mean to do this, and it's certainly not showing any lack of respect, because you should know me by now. I don't overly try to do that. But where I am in my head at the moment, I'm not sure that I trust the monitoring board, whatever they want to call themselves, to find the next rightful manager for Aberdeen. That's where I'm at with my head. And to be honest with you, I'm also quite disappointed in myself that I think that way, because I'm normally a very positive person, level-headed and very objective. But at the moment, that's where I'm at. And I'm really hoping that I can change my mind and trust them in the coming days. But at the moment, I'm not quite there yet. Let's get to you. Come on. There we go. First time with a phone, Ali. So, let me open you up. Oh, man. Thank you for coming on. Thank you. Okay. Wait. Sorry. Okay. Kaiser has said, I think the best we can hope for this season is quite simply to stay in the league. George Seaman has said, Dave Cormack really needs to man up, needs to show his intent from the next appointment. Clearly players did not like Jim, fully expect us to hammer St Mirren midweek. I hope you're right. Graham Klein. By the way, can I also, just while I'm at it, so I watched Dave Cormack yesterday, and I absolutely buy into the idea that he is 100% behind this football club, that he wants nothing but the best for our football club. But I think now he needs to get people in and around him who are not just yes men, and I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that's what he does have. It's just an impression that I get. But he needs to appoint a chief executive officer who is football minded and can guide that club day to day. That's where I think he needs to go. He needs to take on advice from people who understand the DNA and the fabric, the real fabric of Scottish football. Football men and women. That's what he needs at this moment in time, and he's got to take on board advice. That's what I think. But honestly, I think he is so into our football club and he so badly wants the best for us. But I think he needs to take advice. George Kleiner said, hopefully it doesn't mean the end of Vinny. Hopefully a few defenders in before the window closes, or at least give the youth a chance. Can't be worse than what we already have. Erica Mitchell has suggested that she hopes things in time can get better for us. Gary Robertson. To think there's people who think Cormac doesn't care about our club. Watching him on the BBC nearly in tears was heart-wrenching. I agree. It's why I'm just making a point of it, Gary. Gordon Keith Ritchie. Some of the players should look at themselves in the mirror. They're not fit to wear the shirt. After yesterday, that's what I felt as well, mate. William Robertson. Feel for the away support at Easter Road. Players should be docked wages or something. You should play for the jersey at the very least. Safety Blitz 73. Lee Sharp was an invisible number 2. The players let Jim down, but Lee did as well. Never saw him. Frank Brennan wants to know, when was the last time Hibs scored 6 in a league game? Scarlett has suggested all the players should be sacked for putting the club and the supporters through all that embarrassment. History with Josh. Good evening. Worst defence in the league, but there is a severe lack of goals. But hopefully this is a fresh start for players and the club. That's what I'm saying. We just have to dust ourselves off. We have to just try and get forward, get moving quickly as possible. John Gallen. Hi, John. I don't mean to state the obvious, but the players looked totally lost yesterday. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. And I've said this before, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself. But I honestly believe that Jim lost the capacity to manage those players. And I think he lost the capacity to do that for quite some time now. Very sad. Malcolm Park. Hi, Mal. Players need to have a long, hard look at themselves. Nowhere near good enough. Totally gutless. Ian Bruce, good point, Ian. The ladies' team got a great result in Glasgow today. At least some success this weekend for AFC. Yeah, well done. Fraser Dawns, 1903. Can you say hi to my dad, Stuart? He's watching this in tears. Hi, Stuart. I'm so sorry, mate. I hope I didn't tip you over the edge. It's hard, isn't it? Isn't it really tough at the moment? It's bloody awful at the moment. Robin Hall. Hi, Robin. Think we need to take our time with this appointment. Last two have been rushed. We need to get in a caretaker, maybe Robson, and then have a root and branch review before bringing in the next manager. Could not agree more. Okay, Richard McKenzie has said that he felt bad for Goodwin. He was on a hiding to nothing and should have been dealt with before the Darvel game. Yeah, if not before, most definitely straight after. I just felt he was, again, I said it yesterday, I just felt he had a noose around his neck and expect the players to sort themselves out for one game. Not just the players, but everybody. I just don't think it was very fair. Frank Brennan, Aberdeen Football Club are the only Scottish version of Everton. David Gold, make a very good point, David. The players were shocking yesterday. Not only did they not play for Jim Goodwin, they didn't play for the shirt or the fans either. Yeah. Richard McKenzie has suggested that Jim should never have been in charge yesterday. I agree. Angela Hamilton. Hi, Angela. How are you? Don't like to see anybody get sacked, but he's probably best away. It felt like a very toxic situation. Safety Blitz 73 goes on to say, yesterday was summed up by Hayden Coulson on the deck and staying there when goal 4 happened. There was time to get up and run back, even if it was a lost cause. Make an effort. That's all we ask. Yeah. Frank Brennan has said at least Dave Cormack cares when the players couldn't. Yep. Laura McLean has said it's a good move. They put Barry Robson in for now. Only way is up. Fingers crossed. Okay, so since we've come on air, has that actually just happened? Have I just missed that in the past 20 minutes or so? Has Barry Robson just been confirmed? Can you just let me know? Okay, so keep them coming in because I am going to get to them. Now, I'm going to chuck in my tuppence about the new manager. So there's been a few names that have been thrown about. Some just no. But there's been quite a few interesting ones. So Chris Wilder, the ex-Sheffield United and Middlesbrough manager, hugely experienced, very interesting thought. Neil Lennon, a lot of people are talking about Neil Lennon, more than I thought, actually. A lot of people suggesting that he could come in as an interim manager. I tell you right now, Neil will not come as an interim manager. Neil will want that job full-time. Geir Bakker, the Lillestrøm coach, Norwegian guy, working wonders there, apparently. Again, a very interesting name. Here's one that I saw today. John Aloisi, who is currently the manager of Western United in the Australian A-League, apparently is thought of in the highest regard down in Australia, and apparently is doing a fantastic job down there. One that came sort of a little bit out of left field that I never even thought about, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now, so yesterday when I was on the radio, I was basically given 10 minutes to put together 3 names. So I kind of rushed it a little bit. My first name was Stevie Clarke, Scotland manager. Second one was Neil Lennon, and the third was Owen Coyle. Now that I've actually had time to seriously think about this, what I'm going to do to you is I'm going to offer you a name that you might. Sorry, let me rephrase that, because that's not fair. This is a guy who I have been watching since I've got to know Austrian and German football. Now, I know I'm not saying he should become the next Aberdeen manager, but when it comes to due diligence, or when it comes to taking our time, there are guys out there who have got fantastic pedigree who could possibly be interviewed. And I just want to give you an example of a guy who potentially we could look at and we could interview. So just bear with me. I'm not suggesting that he should be the new Aberdeen manager. What I'm saying is that there is a pedigree of coach out there who could be looked at, and I just want the board to do their due diligence properly, because last time we rushed it. So I've been watching this guy now for going on 13 years. His name.
My initial reaction when the challenge was made was that he was in trouble.
Explain a little bit about him.
You know, I was talking to one of my staff members at the time, and I felt that he was going to be shown the red card, and he was. You know, we have no arguments. I think the official has got it right at that moment in time. I think it was a poor decision from Manfred, unfortunately.
Believe it or not, it's the village where my
he
wife
probably should have stayed on his feet
and
jockeyed the player instead of doing what he done. So he left his teammates in a very. My initial reaction when the challenge was made was that he was in trouble.
Austrian football club.
You know, I was talking to one of my staff members at the time, and I felt that he was going to be shown the red card, and he was. You know, we have no arguments. I think the official has got it right at that moment in time. I think it was a poor decision from Anthony, unfortunately. You know, he probably should have stayed on his feet and jockeyed the player instead of doing what he done. So he left. He left his teammates in a very. My initial reaction when the challenge was made was that he was in trouble. You know, I was talking to one of my staff members at the time, and I felt that he was going to be shown the red card, and he was. You know, we have no arguments. I think the official has got it right at that moment in time. I think it was a poor decision from Anthony, unfortunately. You know,
last season at Borussia,
he probably should have stayed on his feet and jockeyed the player instead of doing what he season.
So what, again, let me reiterate the point if you're just watching. What I am suggesting here is that there is a very high caliber of coach who is available. And if we do our due diligence properly, you can see that is the type of guy that is out there. He is a fantastic coach, and he has this... so again, let me just bear with me. So he's come through the Red Bull coaching philosophy, which is this, have you heard of it? It's called the gegenpressing, where if they lose, what's the word I'm looking for? If they lose possession, it's about getting possession back as quickly as you possibly can. Not regrouping, it's about getting possession back as quickly as you can. Now, the same type of manager that has gone through this Red Bull coaching philosophy are Julian Nagelsmann, the current Bayern Munich coach, Thomas Tuchel, ex-Chelsea, Ralph Hasenhüttl, the former Southampton manager, and Jurgen Klopp. They've all been brought up with this Red Bull coaching philosophy, and so has Adi Hütter. I know it's completely out of left field. I'm just chucking it in there. Let me get back to your comments. Sorry if I just whittled on a little bit there. Right, where are we? Bear with me 1 second, just while I get back to where I was. Okay. Paul Stevenson has said, I feel some degree of sympathy. Jim Goodwin, however, the team has lost its confidence in the defence, which has been apparent in recent games. Jim Goodwin knew about this and did not resolve the problem. He didn't. That'll come back to bite. Well, it did come back to bite him. Sega Saturn Lad. Hi. The way the defenders were not chasing Hibs was disgusting. Never seen anything like it. You know, there's been a lot of talk, and I'll just respond to this. A lot of talk about that the players purposely didn't play for Jim yesterday. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I'm not sure a professional football player would do that, would they? I don't know. But it is, I tell you what, it makes for some debate, doesn't it? Richard McKenzie has suggested that if we had a manager in place before yesterday and before the end of the transfer window, this could have worked. Yeah, it could have done. Mike Leslie. Hi, Mike. How are you? From the squad, who would the new manager actually keep? Massive overhaul required again. Scott Banks has asked me about Adi Hooter. Can you see this guy actually being interested? We see, that's the thing. Until we actually ask him, we never know, do we? We just don't know. I've been lucky enough to meet Adi a few times. We've discussed, I've talked to him about Aberdeen. So when he was the manager of Red Bull Salzburg, they came out and they did their winter training in Doha. And because I've got friends that work for Red Bull here, they were with the team, and that's how we were able to sort of get up close and personal with them. And he allowed me to watch the training close up. And what fascinated me about the training was the only word that was coming out of his mouth was schnell, which basically is quickly. So everything was schnell, schneller, quickly, quick. And it was so fascinating to watch. It was just movement, quick, pass, movement. It was, honestly, it was fascinating. Kayleen Angus, I hope that's how I've pronounced it correctly. Get Ole Gunnar in. Was there an issue with when I put the Adi Hooter thing up there? Did you not quite hear it all? Oh no, missed all about Adi Hooter. Damn it. Okay. Goodwin interview on in background. We missed all of that. God damn it. Right, okay. So, sorry chaps. Right, so Adi Hooter started at Grudig, which was a regional football club here. And here in Austria, he took them from what was the 4th regional league all the way to the Europa League qualifiers. And they had an average crowd of less than 500. Then he went to Red Bull Salzburg. He won the league and cup double with the one season that he was with Red Bull Salzburg. Then he moved on to go into the Swiss league with Young Boys Bern, won them the league there. Then went into the German Bundesliga, did unbelievably well with Eintracht Frankfurt, and then he was with Borussia for just 1 month. For 1 year. So he's managed a total of about 550 games, and his win percentage rate is 53%. So what I'm suggesting is that the club could potentially look at him. Sorry, guys, dearie me, schoolboy error. God, I'm so sorry. Some folk are suggesting Chris Wilder could be really interesting. Gary Robertson has said we need a manager who isn't afraid of the old firm. Paul Donaldson is replying to Kaiser. No to Neil Lennon. No to Neil Lennon, and no to David Martindale as well. Gavin Davidson has said, please not Owen Coyle. Jim Valfa has said, hi Jim, how are you? Do we risk another Hegarty situation or make it absolute that we're looking to somebody experienced? Harry Butler has said, Ollie Golla did come to mind, but for me, honestly, not a chance financially. That's the issue there, I think. Charlie Howie has suggested, let's give Robson to the end of the season and see how things go. If things go well, then problem solved. Malcolm Park is saying here, at least make the call to Wilder. Press reports today say that he's interested. Gregor Stevens has reminded me that Ralph Rangnick created that press. Yes, you're absolutely correct. He did, Gregor. So when Ralph Rangnick went in, so when he first basically started with Red Bull, so it's quite an interesting story. So when the whole Red Bull thing in football started, which was actually Franz Beckenbauer, he spoke to the owner of Red Bull, the company, and said to him, look at football. I think you should invest in football, which is what the chap did. And then they brought in Ralph Rangnick as basically to oversee it. He sort of was their professor of football. So that's where he came in. Right, so just let me confirm something here for you. Okay, let me have a quick look on Twitter while you're on. This is all live, obviously. So, okay, so here we go. So the club, oh my God, nearly an hour ago. The club has put in place an interim coaching team to oversee first team matters. Led by Barry Robson, the coaching team will comprise of Steve Agnew, a highly experienced coach who worked with Barry at Middlesbrough, and development phase coach Scott Anderson. So that is where we are with that. Okay, let me get back to some of your comments. Steve Bruce. Eey. Sega Saturn Limited has said, knowing Scottish would not be an issue. Football is football. 11 versus 11. Stick it in the back of the net. Simple game, matey. David Gould has said, absolutely no SPFL merry-go-round managers. Yeah, I agree with that. Let's not do that. I don't want that to happen either. Some folk are suggesting Scott Brown, who's doing okay at Fleetwood. Kaylin Angus has suggested that. Gregor Stevens is talking about, where players are not playing for the manager. I don't think you genuinely go out to get your manager the sack, but they give less than 100%, that's for sure. Pull out of tackles, no spirit, backup, etc., etc. Steve Gardine has said, Chris Wilder is definitely worth a shout. David Lamb has said, I just hope we get it right this time. Yeah, we have to. Craig Davidson has come on and said he agrees with Scott Brown. It's so interesting to see so many of your comments. Okay, how long have we done? Right, 35 minutes. Elliot Aiken has said, would Steve Clark take it? I doubt it, to be honest. Yeah, a few folk have said that to me. Roger Smith has said, Hooter sounds very interesting. Lee has come on. Lee Doubles. Hi, Lee. You okay? Steve Clark would be a good appointment. Stuart McCall. Big Sam. Fraser Gunn has said, Thomas Schneider, German guy, available and experienced, could be a good shout. Lee Boyer. So many names getting bandied about. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Okay. Right, guys, I'm going to call it a night. Again, I do apologise for the Adi Hooter nonsense earlier. Oh, man, sorry about that. Okay, so on Wednesday, when we play St Mirren, I am going to do a halftime show. And I would very much like you guys to be part of that halftime show as well, because I think it could be fun for a start, where we could all talk about what has happened in the opening 45 minutes. So I'll do a preview show first. I'll get that done. And then we'll come back at half time. And then we'll just chat it all through and see what you think. So thank you for watching tonight. Again, I'm absolutely blown away by how many people are on tonight. And for me now, it's just, we've just got to try and look at the positive side of things. It's all about positivity now. We've had the worst of weeks, just madness, absolute madness. And now we just need to try and put it all behind us and just push on, really push on now. Now it's a new chapter, I guess. So guys, thank you so much for watching tonight. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I will see you again on Wednesday ahead of the St Mirren game. Take care. Bye for now. Bye-bye.